you mentioned earlier, but we just got a lot of people that's ill-advised when it comes to stuff like that.
Well, and I think it's a great point that you're bringing up, and having both sides, because it's such a hot button topic. And if you only hear one side, it's easy to skew your perspective, you know, and so you need to hear it from both sides, and I think it's going to be challenging.
Yeah.
But definitely a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah, the reason why I think it would be less challenging if we bring people that have personal experience and they can share from their personal experience, and it makes it a little bit easier for someone else to understand them. Because if you've been through it and you can explain it and you can educate people, I think it makes it easier for people to accept it, people to receive it.
And then, can you tell us a little bit about some of the other topics you'd like to cover in upcoming episodes?
Yeah, I was thinking of teen pregnancy as well. That seems to be a situation that's a little tough out there. A lot of parents are going through a lot of challenges with that. And a lot of kids having kids, you know, before they fully understand even the process of being a woman or being a man. So we definitely want to talk about that as well. And also drugs. We want to talk about that. Heterosexual relationship, we want to talk about that. So everything that can pretty much inform people and educate people, we want to bring it to the forefront and give a voice to people, and they can run with it.
Well, and some of those, the later topics you're discussing, there are things that people a lot of times want to hide in the shadows. You know, let's not talk about it. Let's keep this hidden, and it'll get better miraculously, but that's not the case. And I think it even reminds me of, you know, the first interview we had with Redeem, just talking about, you know, you got to bring these things out so that people can get the help they need and hear the information that could potentially help them in a difficult situation.
Yeah. I like that commercial that said, teach your kids on sex or someone else will. I love that commercial because what it does is they're going to know about the situation regardless whether they hear it from you or not, but when they hear it from you, it's a lot more critical, a lot more credible, because you can educate them the right way.
Yeah.
And they will be a lot safer place for them to hear from the parents. And one of the things also, I led a teen ministry in the Boston area, and had a conversation with one of the parents and communicated that the parents needed to be more engaged with the daughter. And he didn't take my word too seriously, and 6 months later, the daughter was pregnant. You know, just those little small things that goes unnoticed, and sometimes the parents just disengage because somebody else is in there, where we can multiply our efforts by everybody being involved.
I think that's a great point, because parents obviously have a responsibility in there too, but they need help. And I know myself, when I was a teenager, there's only so much I'm going to listen to my parents. Having other people's perspective and other people that I look up to and respect, and being able to hear from them helped me then listen more to my parents.
Yes. Absolutely. And another thing I want to bring up is, you know, teenagers, like you know, just to build on what you were saying, teenagers look to others. They don't look to their parents because they resent their parents 95% of the time. I know I did, but that's just me. But, you know, they resent their parents because they don't want to be told what to do. And I think a lot of it comes down to is teens need mentors.
Right.
You know, it could be someone in their 20s, it could be someone in their 30s, 40s, whatever. If you get close to a teen, and I actually just went to a devotional on this topic last night at our church, that, you know, teens need mentors, you know, so that they are learning about the problems of sex, peer pressure, drugs, drinking, this, you know, everything that teens go through in high school, so that it doesn't become a problem for the parents later on.
Yeah, I think the parents present more of authority, and I think the mentor present more of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of a difference, because me growing up, I spent a lot of time at the YMCA, and I remember learning most of my growing up stuff, being a man. I understood how to be a leader and how to be a man for my dad, but at the same time, Terry Walker was able to give me the other perspective of life. He was able to be a friend that I can open up to, where I didn't feel that authority. I felt more relatability.
Who is Terry?
He's my, when I was 13 years old, playing 13 and under basketball.
Okay.
He was the coach, inner city basketball. So he was the coach the whole way through, all the way up until I was 18. taught me a lot of different things about, I mean, he made a great correlation between life and basketball. You know, how we play basketball, how we prepare for basketball, kind of how you got to prepare for life as well. You know, preparation is the key.
Well, and I've spent the last 8 years as a high school theater teacher when I was in Arizona, and so I can definitely relate to what you're saying because it's so important to invest in the students. You know, if I just brushed them off, and fortunately because I was teaching a different subject, I think it made me freer. It's a little bit more difficult if I was teaching a different subject area, but it allowed me a little more latitude in how I could come at things. And because I was involved with a lot of after-school programs, I had a lot of kids coming, you know, through my program over the years that I was there. But one other thing that you briefly mentioned that I think is super important is getting the parents involved.
Yeah.
And it's not just, you know, saying, hey, you need to talk to your kid, but in a lot of cases, they haven't had the proper training, because let's face it, no one, a perfect parent, you don't get the guidebook, you're at that. So I think in a lot of cases, it's, hey, nobody had this conversation with you. They don't know how to have it a lot of times, and so there's that fear on their part of, okay, even if they want to have that conversation with their kids that's difficult, they maybe don't have a starting place. So, you know, maybe your show and these ideas will help give them the tools and equip them to be able to have those conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned that everything that you do outside of your home is first founded in your home. You know, the foundation of who you're going to be outside and how you deal with society will come from your parents. And a lot of times the parents are not educated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see a lot of parents more trying to be an authority, like I mentioned earlier, versus trying to understand and draw out their kids. You know, but it's hard to do that when you have that responsibility as a parent.
Yeah.
Because you got to be a disciplinarian.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the same time, you want to be someone who's a director, but understanding the wear many different hats.
And it's a balancing act too, because you can't be only authoritative and you can't be only their friend, or at least in my experience. So you've got to, you said, have that balancing act of wearing those multiple hats.
Absolutely. Those are times when you spend just taking a walk with your son or taking a walk with your daughter. You know, giving those little conversation. I mean, it goes a long way. Those little seeds that you can plant. And somewhere down the line, somebody else will water it. Like in my case, where my father gave me the structure of how to be a man, but Terry Walker was able to water it. You know, he was able to take it to a different level. You know, he actually used basketball as an analogy to life, where I can learn and not feel threatened. Because sometimes, as a kid, you want to please your parents. And sometimes you go against the grain and even please your parents. And at the end, you may not be happy about that so much because you don't never find out who's your true identity.
That's a great
You
point.
know, you want to be like your dad. You know, I see a lot of parents trying to live through their kids, whether it's sports or something that they missed out on growing up. And that just create a whole different persona from the kid.
That's a great point. Yeah, there's so many different dynamics at play there that, you know, it sounds like the approach is the more knowledge that they can get, the better choices you can hopefully, because that's ultimately what it's about. It's, you know, you don't want to jam all this information into a kid and expect them to make always the right choices. They're going to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
But if you could give them the education that really rounds it out and helps them to make good decisions, then they've learned the process instead of just do this, don't do that.
Yeah, and mistakes are good. You can't grow unless you make mistakes.
True.
So what you got to do is you got to work yourself from the mistake and educate them the right way. You know, and ask them questions, a lot of questions, because a lot of times we spend a lot more time telling the kids versus asking questions to see where they're thinking and where they're at and what kind of feeling that they may have, because a lot of kids are insecure these days. You know, the
And you
kid
can
who goes out
definitely
and
know
fighting.
it, yeah.
Well, and I'm sorry if I...
No, I was just going to say, you can definitely tell a lot of kids are insecure because of this, of what the media, us excluded, of what the media shows how kids are supposed to be. You know, you have these celebrity females out there that are size 0, you know, starving themselves. That's not a natural way to live. You know, so these girls that are 13, 14 years old in that time of their life, I mean, even younger, 6, 7, 8 years old, you know, they're in that moldable time of their life, and they're looking at these people instead of their parents as role models.
Yeah.
You know, I'm reminded of, you know, a lot of kids look up to role models. I mean, I remember me, I looked up to Hulk Hogan. He was my role model. But I like this quote, it came out from Charles Barkley, who said, "I'm not a role model." And it's, why do you think that celebrities try not to be role models? Is it because of, the way they live? I mean, it wasn't until I read Hulk Hogan's second book, earlier last year that I realized that he sniffed coke a lot, and he was a coke addict, and all this stuff that I never knew about growing up. When he's spouting out, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, train, believe in yourself. Yeah, he was living a completely different life.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad how these celebrities live.
Yeah.
And then, the media touts them as that's the way you're supposed to be.
But it's, on their point, I would imagine it's a tough predicament too, because they're doing their job. Mm-hmm. But at the same token, people are looking to them for things that aren't related to their job, for advice or guidance or whatever, and that's not what they signed up for necessarily, but yet they're almost thrust in that role. So, yeah, interesting dynamic. And one thing that I initially thought your show was going to be a little bit, I thought you were going to have to serve as mediator, because some of those topics are difficult situations. But I like the approach that you're taking, because it really, to me, seems more about education.
Yeah.
Getting that out there. Does that sound accurate?
Absolutely. But there's going to be some media in there as well. I study psychology, so I get a chance to get some input and kind of redirect or direct certain aspect of it. But I think having real live experience out there makes the difference to me.
All right, well, before we get to the next topic, because Rob's got a couple more shows we're going to talk about, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to keep this up. This interview is going great. So Rob will stay with us, and we'll be back from break in just a couple minutes.
Hello, and welcome to A Atlantica Northeast Insurance. Why settle for saving only 15% on your car insurance? Now, let us tell you though, we want to offer you our best asset, our people. That equals great customer service. We can write most lines of insurance and are standing by, ready to help you. With our multilingual staff, telephone quoting, online quoting feature, and our locations throughout Connecticut. Our main office in West Haven, as well as fully staffed offices in Hamden, Hartford, Bridgeport, and Danbury. By the way, in addition to being locally accessible throughout most of Connecticut, we also can write insurance policies over the telephone via fax or mail. Service like I remember when I was...
You don't have to worry about anything. I never do.
Let A Atlantica Northeast Insurance take care of you.
Look at Mommy. This is what you're going to do. I never do. Okay?
So remember us when you have insurance needs.
A Atlantica Northeast Insurance.
Let's try it again.
I need a raise. It's never gonna happen. What do you mean?
Welcome back to the Sportswire, ladies and gentlemen. And I know we're not talking about sports currently at the moment, but this is why we're Sportswire Entertainment. We are covering all aspects of life. So we're still here with Rob DeCosta, who's going to not only host the platform. Actually, before we get into your other two shows, I do want to mention our sponsors for tonight. We have CXP Studios out of North Haven, KBW Designs out of Brantford, which you'll see a commercial of theirs, either you've already seen it or you've seen it later. I'm not in the control room, so I'm not sure when to play it. We also have Eagle Eye Entertainment out of North Haven, Sports Plus out of North Haven, who designed these great Sportswire Entertainment shirts.
Thank you.
And made them for us. Thank you very much. We hope he's watching. Dr. J of Rent to DJ is doing all of our music. Our opening theme song, which didn't get played tonight, but we're going to work on that for future shows. And also some other music. He actually put together a theme song for the platform as well. Sophie Marie's Pizza out of Hamden. They provided us with some nourishment for tonight. And then New England Film Studios, right from where we're broadcasting from, in New Haven. I want to thank you to all those great sponsors for helping us out tonight. And definitely all the links are on the website, except for CXP and KBW, which, well, actually KBW is on there, but CXP is not. I will put that on. All right, so let's get on to Rob's other shows.
Hey, I was really interested. You're telling me a little bit about a program, kind of like a leadership circle, I think you were calling it?
Absolutely. I'm passionate about leadership. I think that's the missing component in this world. And that's why we have so many misguided people and misguided situations because of lack of leadership. You know, even in homes that we spoke about earlier with the platform being the platform being the foundation of that, and the leadership circle kind of spinning off of that, trying to develop leaders, inspire people that have gifts. Because the thing is, leadership today is very elusive, is misunderstood. A lot of people think that management is leadership or administration is leadership, not realizing those are different talents or different gifts. Leadership is on a whole different platform than what they, mark it out to be. So when you take a manager and you put him in a leadership position, he's going to give you what a manager will produce, not what a leader will produce. So therefore, you can never take your, whatever program you have, company or whatever circumstance, you can never take it to the level it needs to go to.
And I think that's interesting. I think we've all probably experienced that too in the workplace, where you're in a situation where someone is in charge of a department or a division or, the workplace, and their skills are not necessarily the leadership skills, but they're in that position, so we look to them for that, and it becomes, part of what we expect of them, but that's not really what they're there for. So I think that's an interesting point.
Yeah, absolutely. Leadership, I mean, I'm not taking any words out of your mouth or what you were going to say, but I mean, I always thought the best managers that I've ever had in jobs were the ones that got right into the thick of things with you. That to me is leadership, not sitting up saying, oh, do this, this. Then another manager comes around saying, do this, do that. And another one comes around, that's mismanaging. That's managing. That's not leadership.
Absolutely. I've learned recently about leadership even more. I think managers, they figure out what the problem is, but they don't know how to solve the problem. Leaders are constantly learning. They're innovators. They learn how to teach. They learn how to train people. They learn how to equip people. They learn how to empower people. They also learn how to sign and designate what's good for you. Because what a leader will do is will take the best out of you and will make it flourish. Be putting you in the best situation possible. And leaders will lead by example. Not that leaders are perfect,
Right.
but what happened is if they make a mistake, a leader will stand up and take ownership.
Yeah.
That's a
and then
great
you will
point.
see him develop from that, and you will see changes. So I think manager will be more trying to let somebody else handle it, or just let things kind of flow the way they're supposed to be, or just trying to make things move along. That would be more your manager. And I go, that would be a detriment to any particular organization that wants to, be foresight. If they want to have foresights or insights, they wouldn't look towards the manager. They would be looking for leaders. But in today's world, it's hard to detect that unless you have those particular eyes to see that.
Right, and you can't discern, one from the other a lot of times because we just lump it together in our minds. And I think that's really interesting the way you bring that out, because even just the words, if you separate all the connotations that go with it. Manage has certain implications. Lead has certain implications too, and they're not necessarily the same thing.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like your background is going to be a great asset to this and really makes sense with the programming, because you said you had a background in psychology,
Absolutely, yeah.
and then also working, was it the team ministry that you
Yeah.
said?
Team ministry. Plus, I grew up with people mentoring me, so that was a natural transition for me to be a mentor to other people. I watch a lot of sports as well, and I can tell when a guy is winning championship, it's because he's a leader. He's not trying to manage the team, and you can see the difference with the 49ers. That was a major switch there.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh, one of those guys, brothers. But he came into a team that he inherited from another guy that was a leader before that, Mike Singletary.
Yeah.
And Mike Singletary managed the guy's talent. But Jim was able to come in and help those guys flourish.
Well, and that's a really interesting point too, because, and it's with Jim with the 49ers, and then John's brother was with the Ravens, or is with the Ravens. But Singletary, to my recollection when he was playing, was considered a leader on the field. So it's interesting that it's a different skill set for him to then switch over, not only just to be a coach, but his style of leadership sounds like it potentially changed even in that transition.
Yeah. Well, what happened is sometimes you can lead yourself, and maybe you can lead one other person, but to lead a group, a team, and different talents and different personalities is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
And that's why you get into their life. Like Terry, I refer to Terry a lot because Terry was not he didn't come from a formal education, but he knew everybody's personality and character. And he knew how to bring out the best of you. You know, he knows that if you're a tough mental kid, he can yell at you and make certain kind of gesture towards you, and you can be motivated. But he also knows if you're kind of a soft, laid-back individual, he has to rub you in the back a little bit more. So it was a different approach that he had, and he was able to master every single aspect of it where he can bring out the best. Because everything I've learned from him, I've practiced it until this day.
I don't want to run out of time on this, but you mentioned when we were talking prior to the show, Men of Steel program, and I thought that was really fascinating, and I love the acronym.
Yeah, that's an approach that I wanted to take with just developing solid leadership and really making a distinction between managers, administrators, and leaders.
Do you mind if I hit the acronym there for
Yes.
the STEEL? So it was STEEL, and we've got student,
Yep.
train, correct me if I'm off on any of these two, equip, empower, and leader.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great acronym for
Absolutely.
Men of Steel, being men of fortitude, strong, and having all these components, because a lot of times we'll think of strength. Well, we forget that there's training and there's equipping and there's, you've got to be a student. You've got to be willing to learn to really become that kind of leader.
You got to constantly be a learner. I heard this quote a long time ago from Jim Rohn. He said, never be lazy in learning, because learning is a segue for a lot of things. You innovate through learning. You can learn from observing people. You can learn intellectually by reading, or you can learn by self-improving. You understand your weaknesses, you make connections to certain things, and you discover what kind of path you can take. But you got to be honest and you got to be committed for the most part, you know what I mean? Because it's got to be a consistent thing that you do. It can't be something that's a fly-by, but you got to be consistent, You got to be on a daily basis with that stuff. And eventually you get there, but the biggest thing about it I see is you got to be really patient with yourself. You got to really be patient with yourself.
So talking about student and training and all this, we're going to segue into the next show that you're going to be doing, and that's the Teacher's Corner.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about Teacher's Corner.
The Teacher's Corner is
They all
something
seem to coming together.
Yeah, what I want to get as many people involved with the shows. The Teacher's Corner is going to serve as an opportunity for people to come on and help train, just kind of like Radim was speaking earlier, how to empower people spiritually. The thing I realize about empowerment is if you give somebody a task and they don't embrace it, they're not empowered. It's not until they embrace it and they become empowered. So there's a lot of people that don't know how to read their scriptures. Some people don't understand how to interpret the scriptures. Now you can refer them to a bunch of books, or you can sit hand in hand with them and give them perspective, and you can teach them along the way until they develop their own personality and character, and they can go ahead and do it on their own. But everybody needs somebody to walk with them. From the beginning, Adam and Eve.
Right.
God walked with them, and taught them a few things, and the choices that they make was on their own choices. But today I wanted to just talk about how we can bring a lot of different people in. There's a lot of people that's a lot more wiser than I am. I don't want to hog up the whole floor, but there's going to be a lot of people that I'm going to give opportunity to be able to share some of the, critical aspect of training that they've done over the years that's got them to a certain point, how they study their scriptures and what kind of books they use and how to self-train. So there's a lot of people that's going to be involved where I can basically say, this is not isolated wisdom, this is wisdom abroad, it's expanded. So whoever you can relate to, you can go to that person and learn how to do it. For me, I spread out 4 or 5 different books, 3 or 4 different Bibles and, concordance and commentaries, and I just go at it, and I pick at least 4 hours a week to do something like that where I can do in-depth study. But along the way, I take little bits and pieces of it, One time a friend of mine asked me a question. He said, how do you eat an elephant? Well, you cook it, and then you eat it. Well, he said you eat it one bite at a time. So when you look at the Bible, it's so vast, and what I've learned today, 10 years from now, it will be something totally different because my life will be in a different place. So I got to be able to be in a position where I can eat a little bit at a time, and it would help me basically learn how to digest and learn how to flourish from it as well.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Well, one thing that I was thinking between each of our guests tonight is just building that consistency and really developing your skills over time, whether it be leadership or whether it be, convictions from the Word, like we were talking about with Redeemed earlier, or Nikki talking about training, that it's got to be something you develop that consistency and continue to go at. And I know we didn't have a guest on, but the same thing for football. So, it's Sportswire Entertainment. We're covering the range here, but there's always connections and there's always parallels. And you're talking about the lessons you learned from basketball. And I think anyone who's played an organized sport, especially in school or on a team like that, there's so many lessons you could take away from it, that it's life. It's how do we apply these things to life. And hopefully that's what we're helping you do tonight. And hopefully that's something you'll continue to join us and we can be involved in that with you as well.
Absolutely, and I think it's great just going over how to empower people, and especially at the beginning, talking over our, in the beginning of this interview, talking over the teams and what needs to happen, because that, like I said, our kids are our next generation. You saw my son up here earlier singing the national anthem, and that's one of his talents that. He's got the talent to sing. I don't have it. I can barely do karaoke for country because that's the only genre of music that sounds good when you don't have a tone. But the thing is you need to empower the children. So whether it be inner city basketball, whether it be anything, you got great shows.
Yeah.
And
one thing I'll add to that would be you got to love it and you got to have a passion for it, or else it's going to dwindle away and it's going to be just another thing that's a flyby. Right. But you got to have a passion for it. You got to love it. That's where it starts.
Yeah. Well, Rob, thank you for coming on. This is a great
pleasure.
All right.
And all the information for the platform and the Teacher's Corner and the Leadership Circle will be on Sportswire Entertainment's website. In the near future, we're going to take our final break, and then we'll be back to wrap things up.
Stay tuned.
Everybody get set! You're on in 3, 2, 1.
At New England Studios, stylish models come together with creative photographers and videographers to produce cutting-edge media for portfolios, magazine ads, and video, including movies, TV commercials, and web content. Many unique sets make this studio a dream to work in. The dressing and makeup room is close to all sets. Use your own or our available lighting sets.
There's also plenty of available window light for that perfect natural light look. Our wide variety of locations, including our spacious main room, allows for many options and gives you the best chances in video. New England Studios is the perfect location for beginning and experienced photographers and videographers to get the most for their rental time. We also have a full kitchen. We also have a full bath. Our convenient street-level elevator makes load-ins a snap. New England Studios has photo and video camera rentals, as well as lights, a green screen, and very cool props. Also, where some of the hottest models in the Northeast are working today. Visit us on the web today at newenglandstudios.com or call us at 203-653-5199 and book your next shoot with us today.
All right, welcome back to the Sportswire. We just had a great interview with Roger Costa, host of The Platform, Teachers Corner, and Leadership Circle. We've had a great night so far.
Yeah, hopefully you're having as much fun as we are, because I know I'm having a blast.
Absolutely.
We've had 3 great guests on. I also don't want to be remiss and run out of time later on, but I want to thank Redeemed for joining us. Check out his radio show, but also his upcoming show, Unashamed, on Sportswire Entertainment. Want to thank Nikki V, and you can find out information about the different leagues that she's involved in, different organizations, on the website as well. And then also Rob DaCosta, who we just had on here, and his shows. He's got multiple shows coming in too.
Absolutely. So we're going to actually go over some mainstream sports, but we're going to start with one that not many people listen to, but it's college hockey. Even though we did have 2 Connecticut teams in the...
We do, and that's why I definitely want to make sure we get it in there. Plus, I love the name. The Frozen Four is coming up. We've got Quinnipiac is still in there, and for those that maybe haven't been following it, Quinnipiac's the #1 team in the nation.
Wow.
That's never happened before. Quinnipiac is #1 in men's NCAA Division I ice hockey, and that's the first time in the program history of attaining that spot. So that program's grown by leaps and bounds. Yale is also in, and Yale's already advanced. They've already played their game in the first round. They're on to the second round, and they're going to be playing North Dakota. In fact, I believe that's happening today, if I'm not mistaken. Don't have a result on that yet, but that's something that's going on. Don't want to forget the Women's Ice Hockey Championship is coming up. I apologize. That one's done. Minnesota defeated Boston University, and one of the reasons I think that's important to mention in here is Boston always has a lot of representatives in that, so hopefully in the near future we can get some of the Connecticut teams in that. But one that a lot more people are following would certainly be the big dance.
Yes.
March Madness.
Yep. March is known for.
Yeah, so that's one thing. We don't have time to go through all the games. That's not what our purpose is here. But a couple updates that we can give you. Syracuse won their game against Marquette today, so they will be moving on to the next round. Michigan will be playing Florida. The Cinderella team there, Florida...
Gulf Coast.
Yeah, Florida Gulf Coast.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going FGC.
Yeah, Florida Gulf Coast University.
They got knocked off by Florida. That was a great run.
Yeah, but still to have them get... we've had quite a few upsets this year, especially with Harvard. Harvard ruined many... Harvard and Florida Gulf Coast ruined many people's tournament brackets.
Bracket busters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember listening to Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio, and they're saying how, they have their bet going every year, and they said it came down to the Duke-Michigan game.
Yep.
And it's like this early.
Yeah.
But it's because of those bracket busters.
Yep. And Duke knocked off Michigan State, so they're going to be playing Louisville. And then last I knew, Wichita State was currently leading Ohio State, so that would be another upset if that continues to hold. go Wichita State because I'm not an Ohio State fan. Down with the Buckeyes. Nothing personal. But we also have the women's basketball championship, and we have good news for us here in Connecticut. UConn women will be playing Delaware, and that's going on down in Bridgeport. So the UConn women have advanced. They defeated Maryland, so that's going on to the next round as well. And that April 9th is the national championship game for that tournament.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of stuff going on in terms of college sports now because, of course, the college year is dwindling down. College baseball is starting, like I had mentioned earlier, because in the state we have, Quinnipiac, we have UNH, we have Southern, Central, UConn, but none of our teams around here really get national recognition for baseball.
And since I was mentioning the women's national championship for basketball, I want to mention the WNBA season will be starting up in May, so be looking forward to that. Those games are a lot of fun to go out to. I know when I was in Phoenix, we have the team out there. Connecticut, certainly, it's a big sport here. So
yeah, Connecticut's on, playing right up in the league itself.
So check out those schedules. Try to look at those games. NBA.
Yes.
The big story there has been the Miami Heat's 27-game winning streak coming to an end.
Yes. The Chicago Bulls really took that over. The fact that the Miami Heat 27 in a row, that's unheard of in modern day basketball. And you got to think of it, this wasn't a strike-shortened season. So between the Bulls game that the Heat lost and the last time the Heat lost, so much stuff has happened. Anquan Bolden won the Super Bowl with the Ravens. He's now a 49er.
Yeah, true.
That's how long it's been since the Miami Heat actually lost the game. But The Rock won the world title and beat CM Punk in a rematch since the last time the Heat lost. So it's one of those things where it was a phenomenal thing. And the Miami Heat, they have what Rob was just talking about with leadership. LeBron James, love him or hate him, he knows how to lead the team.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's overlooked in that, because I was looking at some articles about that, Eric Spoelstra. Here people were talking a few years ago about, he won't be there long, he's only there, he can coach superstars. That's a lot of work. Not that I've done it, but, there's a lot of teams that have superstars and they don't gel like that.
Look at the Lakers. The Lakers are a key prime example of that. Everybody thought bringing in Steve Nash was going to just cement the Lakers' legacy right now with Kobe, with the Dwight Howard, and
which crushed the population of Phoenix when he left, and I can attest to that personally.
But the fact that the superstars, their egos get in the way. Everybody says, well, LeBron James doesn't take the big shot. Michael Jordan took the big shot. LeBron James gave it to the person that needs to have the ball.
Right, and I think that's the biggest quality there that's helped the Heat come together is they're willing to
work together.
Yeah, they're willing to step down and take a different role, whereas the Lakers haven't gotten to that point. And I don't want to be remiss though, because I'm not a Laker fan, but if we're going to go back to the last time there was a winning streak, it was 71-72, and that was the Los Angeles Lakers winning 33 in a row.
Yeah, and that's a record.
So, but April 20th, the playoffs in basketball will be starting up, so that's something to look forward to there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good thing. Quick note out of the New York Mets, Johan Santana's Mets career looks to be over with a season-ending injury. It doesn't look like he'll be back in a Mets uniform anytime soon. So that just crushes any kind of hopes for the Mets.
Wow, that's a tough one. Yeah, I told you at the beginning we were going to try to avoid giving you too much bad Mets news, but sorry about that.
Yeah. The Mets themselves are just, they've always been the redheaded stepchild compared to the Yankees. But unfortunately, it's still one of those things where, they had a great Subway Series in 2000.
Yep.
They had a couple of decent runs, but they collapsed at the end. And now just, but I have to say both New York teams this year are just looking down in the dumps.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough year here in this area for baseball. The Red Sox might be on the upswing, which doesn't make me happy either, but they've got a lot of work to do there as well. But I believe you had a couple other things you want to talk about.
I do want to talk about next Sunday is WrestleMania Sunday, live from our backyard at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. It looks to be like it's shaping up to be a great card. Undertaker, CM Punk. Undertaker puts a streak on the line against CM Punk. I personally see that this match shouldn't take place, period, because The Undertaker can't do what CM Punk is going to do, and The Undertaker can't make CM Punk look good, let me put it that way. And I don't think CM Punk should be the one to break the streak. So they're going to have The Undertaker beat CM Punk somehow to last until next year's WrestleMania 30, where ultimately the streak should come to an end. Brock Lesnar and Triple H in a no-holds-barred match where if Triple H loses, his career is over. Look for Triple H to gain redemption on Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam, because now that Triple H is COO of WWE, he's in a high-ranking position. He can control the booking, but he also knows what's best for the company. And he knows that Triple H, the name, still brings people to the seats. So he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But they are going to start Brock Lesnar up with another feud coming up soon.
Stoke those fires, right? Keep it burning.
Absolutely. In the title matches, like I alluded to, The Rock and John Cena for the WWE Championship. I look for Cena to get redemption this year. I do not think it was, number one, I don't think it was a great idea for The Rock to have the title at all, because he's a part-timer, and, this is something I should have brought up with Nikki V.
True.
But The Rock being a part-timer, when you got guys in the back that are fighting day in and day out and putting their bodies on the line day in and day out, they're the ones that deserve the title. Granted, the WWE is about money, and The Rock still brings in brings in attendance, brings in the dollars. I still feel, CM Punk should have kept the title, and he should be facing John Cena at WrestleMania. But, I'm not Vince McMahon. If I was, we'd have a little bit better of a equipment setup. We wouldn't have to go on 45 minutes late. But
You never know. That could still happen even with the big expensive stuff. So.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But I do feel that Cena will beat The Rock this year at WrestleMania. Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger. Jack Swagger's current character has been bringing up a lot of media attention lately because his new manager, Zeb Coulter, who if people understand, know wrestling, formerly known as Dirty Doug's Mantle, Uncle Zebekiah when he was in the WWE prior. He's got this character that's almost like this, Vietnam veteran that, our U.S. borders are just like Swiss cheese, that they let everybody in, and, we need to close down the borders, and, he actually has gotten so much controversy that Glenn Beck, who used to work here in Connecticut at KC 101, actually sounded off.
Wow, that's going back.
Yes, Glenn and Pat and Glenn and Vinny. And,
Wow.
Glenn Beck actually spoke out against the WWE because of this character. But yeah, I did find out there's a lot of backstory there. When Glenn Beck was working at KC 101, or at WLI, excuse me, he was supposed to do an interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin, because this is back during pre-Attitude Era days, back in the 90s. He was supposed to do an interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin for an event coming up, completely botched the interview because he started on one of his rants about wrestling not being real and, this and that and the other thing. And he got punished. He actually got suspended from WLI for that. And he's had a vendetta against the WWE ever since. So when, WWE crew sent, Michael Cole of all people to Glenn Beck's studios, he refused to even come on camera. So that's been getting a lot of controversy. Also on the card is The Miz versus Wade Barrett, which they might actually combine with a Divas match. You have the Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony coming up the night before. Actually, on a side note, you're supposed to see the SWE Hall of Fame ceremony on this show at the beginning. We are pushing it off for a few months, trying to get all of our Hall of Famers together for a big night gala. But we're out of time.
We are. I do want to thank our sponsors one more time, though. CXP Studios, Eagle Eye Entertainment, KBW Designs, Sports Plus, again.
Yes.
Rent a DJ, Sophie Marie's Pizza, and then, of course, New England Film Studios for having us here.
Absolutely. We want to thank our crew, Chris Herkner, Will Case, Greg Getze, Josh, I forget his last name.
Kelly.
Kelly. Melissa Schwartz, Irving Gomez. We want to thank Redeemed for coming on, Nikki V,
Rob DaCosta,
Mark Modulowski,
Yeah, we'll go with that. Mark Gillespie.
Modulesky, okay. And I'm Vinny Apicella. We hope you had a great time. We'll see you next week on the Sportswire.
Look at him. He's huge. You can't get by him. I mean, I know I'm big, but I don't think even I can take him down. Wait, we don't really have to bring him down at all. Look at him. I see his favorite food is pasta. What do you say? Why don't we draw him away from throwing some food? Then we can ask her if he'd like to be in the show on Sunday.
It's a good idea. One of us could dress up as a room service guy. We bring him the food and we say the hotel policy says people have to eat in the dining room. And then one of us or two of us can go in there and we just ask her to be on the show on Sunday.
Wait. Who's gonna do what? Vinny, you get the pasta and distract the big guy. Brett, you and I, we go into Miss Kaplan's room and we talk to her. Okay?
Okay.
All right.